And together we are here live, everyone, for our part 2, how to build cohort-based programs in partnership with Notion. Let's get a fire emoji in the room. Let's get it live today, which is very, very exciting because I don't know if you know how this event started, but we actually ran a part 1 of this event with Notion. We had 3 incredible speakers about a month ago on how to build cohort-based programs. We had over 180 people who signed up for that session. At the end, everyone said, "We want more. We want more." So Alex and I caught up and we brought part 2 for all of you. And we've had over 160 people sign up for this one, which is mind-blowing. So today we've brought in some incredible guest experts who are masters at cohort building programs and are still learners themselves. But we've got Bryony Cole, Josh Lipskin, and Ramon Marmalejos, and Alex Dam, of course, from Notion. So I'm very, very, very pumped for today because really the purpose of today, why are we gathering, is basically to understand the ins and outs of running a program. How do we deal with engagement? How do you launch one from scratch? How do you deal when everyone finishes and graduates? What happens afterwards? What's the tech stack, the operations? A lot of you have been asking about Notion AI. And so really this is exactly what we're diving into today. And today I am tuning in from the land of the Wurundjeri people from the Kulin Nation. My name is Paz Pazarski. I'm one of the co-founders of the Community Collective, and I get to be your host today. I'm tuning in from the Commons. This is a video that my brother took on a drone. He's a videographer of Melbourne. And so I want to hear, where are you all tuning in from live? Post in the chat right now. Give me the name of the city. You don't have to give a whole video that your brother shot of your location. That's cool. No one's as cool as my brother. But anyway, post in the chat where you're tuning in from live. I know we've got Ramon is in New York at the moment. Bryony's in Melbourne. We've got Alex over in New Zealand. Enos is tuning in from Thailand. She's our tech master today in the chat. How cool. Tasmania. Alex is here. Jess. San Francisco. How cool. Oh, Magnetic Island. Nat. How cool. Absolutely love that. Well, today you're actually all in Butter. So we need to make sure if you've been to Butter before or if this is your first time, because we like to make sure that we are all using the correct tech stack. So Butter is obviously the name of the platform. It's dairy-free, very friendly for our lactose intolerant friends. Now, please stamp on this map. Are we all Butter experts? If we are, I'm going to move on and I won't run you through Butter. But if we've got some new people, stamp on the left and I'll just give you a quick overview because I want to make sure. Oh, got a couple people who are new to Butter. All right, how good. All right, Alice, Annika, Leah, amazing. Welcome to the buttery land. The only things that you really need to know about Butter is just like how fun and interactive it is. So as a live audience member, you all have one very important job. You're going to go to the reactions right now. I want you all to give me the hallelujah emoji. You're going to do this when Josh, you're just like sharing stories and everyone's like, hallelujah, Josh. And we just love that. We're going to do the fire emoji when Bryony just absolutely burns through some really cool maybe failures or wins. And then, of course, we're going to hit the brain emoji when Ramon just blows your mind, okay? Like you're going to react. So we're all here live together. Whoa, okay, blow me away. And of course, this is an interactive session, so you can ask a question live. So during the Q&A, I have a question in the queue and you can jump up on the main stage. Totally understand if that's absolutely terrifying for you and you're like, get out, Paz, I'm not doing that. That's cool. We've got the chat. So the chat is there. You can answer away, share some gifs. We want to make Josh laugh today, so you're going to be very distracting in there. Nah, we're all here to learn and have some fun. All right, give me a thumbs up if in the Butter reactions, if all of that makes sense and we're feeling well-versed in Butter land. All right, well, let's move on. Okay, I get it. You're all experts now. Very cool, very cool. Well, I have a couple stories and a couple questions because this event would not be made possible without our incredible event partner, Notion. Please add a thumbs up in our reactions of Butter. Is anyone using Notion at the moment who are some Notion fans? Because we absolutely love this tech tool and they can be used not only for building cohort-based programs, but for many other functions. And so a lot of people like to refer to them as a project management tool. I like to call them just masters of the tech world because you can build forms, manage email, set up agentic workflows and everything in between. And today wouldn't be made possible without our fabulous partner, Alex Dam, who will be giving us a live Notion demo. And Alex and I have also gathered a gift for all of you because we had a lot of questions about Notion and we've actually landed 6 months free of the Notion business plan, which is usually paid. And it has all of the A workflows. So we're going to put that link in the chat. We're just going to give you a gift straight up. If you're thinking about Notion and hear about it at all, we want to give you 6 months free on that plan, which is thanks to Alex. So is this anyone's first community collective event? Add a thumbs up if this is the first time you're in this orange world. I just got this leather jacket recently from a LinkedIn post because everyone told me to buy it. Okay, we've got some new people in the world. Well, if this is your first time with the Community Collective, we started as a meetup in 2021 for 17 people who were building communities in Melbourne. We came together, we just spoke about how hard it was to run memberships and programs, but we went viral afterwards. And actually, I quit my job in 2022, registered with Community Collective as a company, and we've been running for 3 years and today have over 17,500 people in our audience with 700 in our community. And we have ambassadors all around the world who connect in person and online. But basically, we train companies how to build a community strategy. So we've worked with Google, KPMG, Canva, LaunchVic, Airtree, and a lot of other incredible organizations about how do you engage humans in connection in a business context. So over the years, we've been running cohort-based programs. I feel like I have grown up through the Community Collective, launching over 7 different programs for over 380 people, both online and across 12 countries. And so we are really going to dive into the ins and outs of what it's like to build programs, because it can be freaking hard out there, right? Is anyone else agree? Oh, shocker. Hey, there we are. I was just testing you. And so for today, we have brought in some incredible experts who've helped me over my journey in running programs and really have been at the intersection of designing and experiential learning and also just running really cool and awesome communities and time-bound experiences. So these are our speakers, Ramon, Josh, Alex, and Bri, who you will meet very, very soon. So today, how it's going to work, we're going to check in. We're then going to have a panel discussion with all of your 150 pre-submitted questions. So I'm going to ask them all to Bri in 5 minutes in a rapid fire round. And then we will have a Notion demo with Alex to understand how Notion AI works and the back-end systems. We'll have plenty of time for audience Q&A. And then we have a gift for all of you because we love gift giving. So how do you get a gift? Well, I have got some very cool books to give away today. We've caught up with Derek Sivers and he is giving away free audio books to any of his books for anyone that asks a question live. So if you get on the main stage today with us and hang out with us on the main stage and ask a question live, we will personally send you a book gift via email for the audio version. All right, we've got a check-in now. So we like to get a bit of a read of the room and see who here is live and who here is using Notion. Are you a diehard fan? Perhaps you're using Notion, but you're new, or are you just like, not yet? I'm like nowhere near, never logged in, haven't touched the tool. All right, answers are coming in live. All right, let's get them on the ground. All right, Paspazar, here we go. Yes, we've got the answers here. So over probably about 50% of us are diehard Notion fans. Pretty cool. We've got at least 7 people who are new and at least 40% who are not yet even trying Notion. All right, that's interesting to hear. All right, the second question is who here is running a cohort-based program? We want to know if you are in the deep end, running the programs, doing the thing, engaging the people, or not yet. You haven't run a program, that's not you. You're not like, oh, okay, whoa, 50-50. We've got 13-10 votes coming in. All right, very hardcore split. We've got, I hope all of our panelists clicked yes. Otherwise, that would be a bit embarrassing. But here we go. We've got at least 50-50. Okay, so a lot of people are new, haven't even ran a program before, and a lot of people are also in this work. All right, we'll tailor it for you. Our last question for the check-in today is, what is the biggest thing you find challenging about running programs? If you are running a program, what's keeping you up at night? What's confusing? If you're not running a program, what's challenging there? Like, what are you just struggling with and what's holding you back? We're going to take 30 seconds. I'd love for anyone to reply. If anyone wants to share live, click I have a comment. I'll give you a book if you want to share your challenge live and we'll debrief all together. Here we go. All right, we've got so many challenges coming in. If anyone wants to share live, you can jump up on the live stage with me and click I have a comment in the butter queue. And basically we've got, just where to start, right? Engagement, what happens after graduation, all the alumni, what happens after that? Getting people in the door, keeping people interested until the end. Yes, it's like everyone just drops off a cliff. You're like, wait, why did we all sign up for this? Initial design process, using the tech. What are we doing in the operations, systems and processes for sure? We've got the back end ops, how to engage a wide range of participants who are different personas. Very fascinating. And tend to lose momentum after completing the program. That's interesting, like that alumni piece. Guidelines and policies. Yes, Pablo. We've got Mark, mostly the commercial models. Yeah, pricing, sales, right? Kind of making it financially sustainable. All right, well, gang, you are all in the right place, and someone's trying to screen share. Let's absolutely not accept that. And basically, we are going to dive into our panel because this is literally why we're having this conversation today, to kind of go through some of these challenges and really understand how can we all be better when running these types of experiences. So let me introduce you to the one and only Ramon. He has been a mentor of mine for many years, and he is tuning in from New York at the moment, which is Thanksgiving this week. But he is one of the co-founders of Alchemia Learning. So he helps teams and organizations actually create meaningful experiences through learning design. He's also been a Chaos Pilot facilitator. I have done Chaos Pilot, which is an incredible school of learning design. So you learn about how do you design the learning experience that you want people to go through. He's helped launch Vic and many other multiple other organizations around designing programs. So Ramon, I'm just so pumped to have you here. What's been a challenge for you when running or designing programs?
Yeah, so I think a big challenge for me is really around how do we make sure that you not only plan for the actual experience, but then think about, well, what's next, right? So once the cohort is done, how do you have them stay connected? And how do you make sure that they ideally would be part and integrated into the next cohort to create that kind of momentum? I think that's one of the things that can be a real challenge. And sometimes we don't think about it, right? We focus on the actual cohort and the experience, but then what happens after they're done, and how do we keep them engaged?
Yeah, engagement always comes up, right? It's like, what happens afterwards? Like, do you stay in the program? Do you do another one? Is there a different offer or membership? Like that in itself is a whole second element. So thank you for sharing. And good thing Josh is here, because Josh is the head of startup success at Launch Vic, which is one of the most incredible government agencies in Victoria to make Victoria one of the best places to build a startup. And Josh has run many, many different types of programs. And he was one of the first people that I called, after I called Ramon as well, about building our cohort program at the Community Collective. And fun fact, Josh introduced me to my co-founder of the Community Collective, which is pretty cool. So Josh, you're a connector, you've been running programs. Like, what are you finding challenging about this world?
I would probably echo something that Ramon just said, and something that we, I think, struggle, or like a challenge for us at LaunchVic, because we run different programs for different stages of companies as well. And so our alumni pool is actually really large, but it's really diverse. And so actually figuring out what works for us to deliver and keep our alumni engaged, I think is a real challenge that we still haven't quite nailed yet. We're always trying new things, but it's definitely something that's always on our mind. Like, how do we better engage our alumni and continue to deliver something that is like useful for them?
Yeah. And the needs change, right? Like when they joined at the start, it's going to obviously need something different at the end. So I feel you.
Yeah.
Well, good thing we've got Bryony Cole here, because she is the co-founder of Sex Tech School and is an incredible podcaster and speaker. She's recently done a TED Talk at the TED conference over in New York, which is very cool. She's based in Melbourne. And Bryony and I have been connected over the years, chatting about how do you build community? How do you run programs? And Bri, you've been running cohorts across multiple time zones. You know,
Oh my
you've had
gosh.
breakfast clubs like in American time zones, and then like Melbourne gatherings and happy hours, both online, in person. You've had teams helping you run the program, as well as a lot of member roles. So it's been really cool to see how you've built Sex Tech School, which basically helps people build a career or a business in the sex tech industry. And I'm just really pumped to have you here today, Bri. So like, what keeps you up at night, Bryony, on programs?
Thank you. Aside from trying to keep up with the time zones, I think someone made a really good point in the that submitted just then, is that keeping people interested until the end of the program. And it's not even keeping them interested, it's the fact that life just happens, right? So, you know, someone may get sick or something may happen to a family member. You never know. And I think that's when you have small cohorts, and I'm a big fan of keeping them quite contained, that changes the energy of the group. So how do you just sort of keep going, and how do you also have empathy for that person that may have had like something challenging or traumatic, and bring them back into the fold at a later time and keep them moving ahead, but also retain the culture of the current cohort. So that's been something that just, you know, you can't control, and happens every single cohort without fail. So I think the only thing I go is like, go in expecting that now, after a lot of experimenting and trial and error. It's like, as you said, we're just all humans, you know, and life kind of gets in the way of an online program.
Yeah. And it's so dynamic, right? Because we're dealing with people and multiple groups, and they could be all over the world. They could be different personas. And so it's really understanding, how do we serve these people and make sure it's valuable, right? And so, Bri, like, let's like jump straight in. You know, we had so many questions kind of coming in from all of our registrations. I just want to start with like the framing. You know, there's like there's kind of a big conversation at play here. Like, why do building cohort-based programs matter? Like, why aren't we all just building on-demand courses, self-serve? Like, what makes them a powerful tool to actually help people go from A to B?
Yeah, I mean, when I started Sex Tech School, it was during the pandemic, and I think part of it was loneliness, right? People want to connect and crave connection. And I actually thought, maybe that won't be the case for the popularity in cohorts and wanting to be together post-pandemic. But in fact, I still feel that same demand now, that people want to be together, to go on this learning journey together, because as we all know, and that's why people have turned up today, we're absolutely drowning in content, right? Like, I remember signing up for the masterclass thing or the Netflix. There's so much choice, there's so much content, but what we're really starving for is connection, and for that guided experience. And so I think that's why cohort-based learning is important to people, even if they don't recognize it at the time. And it's some version of that. It might be belonging for some group, it might be accountability for another. But when I zoom out, I go, there is a real psychological bond that happens in cohorts where people want to be on the journey all together and feel a sense of camaraderie, versus evergreen content where, even that, you know, the drop off, I think, is even bigger with something where you don't feel like, but I have to show up. So I think there's a natural sort of inclination for people that really want to learn to prefer cohort based. I'm going to stop there in case I don't want to take up too much time.
No, I love it. Take up all the time, Bri. I mean, this is like, we're here to just, you know, learn. I think you raised such a great point there, because people don't want to pay for content anymore. They don't want to pay for information. You're like $50 template, like, I'll just get ChatGPT to build that. Like, we're also in a different age of like AI and tech and mass production as well. So that element of like connection, accountability, and like actually getting it done is kind of the key. Is that really what you're doubling down on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think in Sex Tech School in particular, but I think this applies across any sort of online or cohort-based learning you're running, is that, people don't have a safe space. And so this creates this sort of safe space. And what's interesting to me is the sales for or selling in the course isn't really about that. It's almost like people don't realize until they're actually in the course. Oh my God, I love this because of the community. I want to come back because of the community. And so it's really different when you're thinking about selling the course. One of the selling points isn't come and join the community. But I know after every cohort, if I look at the reviews, if I look at the feedback, the biggest give isn't, oh, I spent 6 weeks building my business and look at this, deck I've done or this capital I've raised. Every single time it's about, oh, I got this community and now I don't feel, so alone in what I was doing. So I really, I'm a big fan of community, as you know, but I really think it's almost the unintended consequence and benefit of cohort learning for people who might come in going, oh, it's accountability. And so, in saying that, it's really important that you weave that through even more, engineer it through the program. So there's plenty of opportunities for people to meet, for people to feel like they have a sense of belonging and they know, who else is in there, whether that's cohorts past or the speakers. I found that's sort of created the biggest sense of success for people is I got to know so many people on the journey.
The friends, right? I love that. I love that. Well, we're all converted here, and I'm sure. I mean, add a thumbs up if anyone's ever bought an online course and never completed the whole thing, right? I mean, who's guilty of that? I think double thumbs up for him, Josh. Love that. Well, I mean, Ramon, let's jump into, we're here. We want to build a program. How do we approach designing the program? What are the essential building blocks or steps to actually designing the structure?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think what we typically do using the Chaos Pilot methodology, right? So Chaos Pilots is this school based in Denmark that really believes in transformative learning, right? Through a learner-centered approach. And when we think about building cohort-based programs, we really start with the end in mind, right? We use this tool called vision backcasting to really think about, well, what actually is the vision for this at the end? And then kind of reverse engineer, work our way backwards to then understand what's needed. And particularly, we spend a lot of time to just understand the context of the learner or the person going through the experience, right? To really understand what do they need? And then how do we build an experience that really fulfills that? And so then once we have that, we start with a real clear purpose, right? Real clear, what's the vision, what's the purpose, what's the intention, and ultimately, what's the promise that you want to make them? And that really involves breaking down what do you want them to think, feel, say, do, commit to at the end of that experience. And then once we do that, then we design what are called learning arches to really understand the experience. And so you can imagine learning arches really becomes a visual representation of that journey and allows us to really understand not just the journey that the cohort will take physically, but emotionally as well. That's really important. How do we design for the emotion that we want them to feel throughout that experience? And then when we come together as a community, how do you get them to connect, right? This idea of connection before content is really important. How do we make sure that there's a sense of trust and you build the relational field between and amongst the cohort in order for them to understand how they want to work together, how they want to support each other, because ultimately, that's really the thing that's going to keep them connected, right? And keep them engaged is really how strong are those relationships. I think sometimes we focus on what they're going to do, but actually the success of a cohort-based program is going to be dependent on how strong those relationships are. And then I would say the last thing is really, how do we make it real? How do we get them working together, working on projects, right? So I think not only do you build, connection by, going through a process of creating agreements, but you really build connection when people are doing things together, building together, solving problems together, and creating meaningful outcomes in that way. So I would say those are the key things. Really start with purpose, really understand what's that journey that you want to create, understand how you're going to get them connected as a community, and then ultimately, how do you get them working together?
Yes, I love this process. I remember learning this from you, years ago, and it's never failed me in that design of what is the transformation you want people to experience from A to B? And I'll never forget understanding what is the hardcore curriculum and then what's the hidden curriculum. And I think a lot of people only focus on like the hard curriculum. It's like you need to learn financing and pitching and accounting and you know, business management. And there you go. There's your hard skills. But the hidden curriculum is like trust and connection, collaboration, like friendship. Like, how do you want them to feel? It's like the hardcore skills versus, you know, the experience. I love that, Ramon. We've put some vision backcasting templates in the chat there, and you know, I guess like Josh, you know, we've decided we want to build a program. You know, we've done the vision backcasting, looked at the skills, how we want to connect people, engagement, right? Like, what are the most effective ways to actually keep people in this program from week one? What do we need to do at the start to make sure they all don't just fall off a cliff?
Well, I'm also going to give a plug to Ramon and the vision backcasting, because I have actually had the pleasure of doing that twice, led by Ramon, and that has absolutely transformed how we deliver and create our programs. And in terms of engagement, I think something that Bryony said was around people having a safe space to come and to learn. I think it really, like, programs start by creating that space and making sure that space is safe for people to engage with. Because I think something that we forget about often, learning as an adult is very different to learning when you're at university or when you're in high school or when you're in primary school. But a lot of the time, people have been out in professional careers for, like, you know, the last like 5 to 10 years. They have come to webinars or whatever it is, but going through an actual program and committing that headspace and often like that physical space. We've seen a big swing of a lot of programs being delivered in person these days as well, since COVID. And so I think one of the biggest things for me is making sure that you kick off that program in a way that helps people land in the space very comfortably, like they are as equals as the other people in the room. As facilitators, we're on the same page as them. We're on the same level where we have a lot of the answers, but also at the same time, I often don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm very, very comfortable admitting that, even though I like to pretend that I do. And so a couple of the things that we do, a couple of things that we've tried in a couple of different programs that we've run, like either a session around psychological safety or a session around founder mindset. And it helps really cut people to kind of like land in the space. And it's not the financial modeling. It's not the go-to-market strategies. It's very much a psychological, who am I? Why am I here? Why are you here? And I think that's been a real trigger to getting people to show up for the rest of the program as well, because they've already, you built these bonds with the other people in the cohort. And so if they're showing up, you want to show up just as much, if not more. And it really creates a cohesive, collegiate kind of environment. So I think for anyone who is creating programs, running programs, factoring in something like that, because it's a really nice way to kick off the program as well. You're getting people to think and behave and act differently to what they may do in the other parts of their life. And that you're doing it in a fun kind of like, this is the program, like enjoy each other, like hold hands, sing kumbaya, however you want to do it. It's a very nice way to like land and begin that engagement piece.
I love that. And like at the beginning, everyone is the most excited. You know, it's week one. It's like new year, new goal energy, right? You're like January, it's all going to be different. You get to Feb and you're like, oh. And so I think that capitalizing on that, like I love front loading a program. So week one, we have 3 live sessions in 1 week with 18 dinners, like one in each city, not like 18 dinners you all need to go to, but like, you know, really thinking about it's in person, it's online, like you're, you know, a 3-day like initiation, something that you all go through together to like make that bond. And then it's so much easier after that. And I think one thing that I've learned, which really doubles down on that, Josh, is just get the people right. Like people have to apply, meet every single person, have a one-on-one with them, vet them, make sure that they are accepted. They have to accept the offer. If you get the people right, like the rest is so much easier. But if you just put your program online, anyone can buy it. Off they go in, you never meet them. They kind of just at the live session, just there. It's like walking into a nightclub. You've walked in, and if you walk out, no one notices. But if you walk into a dinner with 6 people and you've all, you know, gone to someone's house and you've met them, and like leaving that environment is a lot harder. So I think that investment up front helps with engagement in the later end. And you know,
and we let we get like,
yeah, go Josh.
we get so many people applying for our programs, and so we let people know like it was a really competitive like process to get into the program. And so like it's kind of, you're here and you're taking up someone else's spot who could be here. And it's not in terms of like laying on that guilt, but it is helping to like sort of like lay the groundwork of you, if you're here, you need to show up kind of thing. But also I think letting people know and being very clear from the start, like throughout that application process, what the expectations are around engagement. So, you know, if it's like the 3 dinners you attend a dinner, or for the program that I'm running out now is you have to complete the program and they get a grant funding at the end of the program. To access that, you have to have attended every day of the program. You have to have submitted XYZ. You like, this is how we engage on this platform and we program these days or whatever it is, being really clear from the start so people know what they're getting into. So when you turn around halfway through and say, hey, Paz, why aren't you showing up? Like, why aren't you contributing to the discussion or whatever it is? You've got, like, I as the facilitator have something to kind of fall back on and say, well, you agreed to this and now you're behaving in a different way.
Yeah. There's always the wrestle. Do you make everything compulsory? Is it all optional? Is it async? Is it live? Like other recordings? So oh my God, so many decisions, right? But one of the biggest questions that was asked, you know, in the registration, and Bryony, this one's definitely for you, like the money, like the costing, the pricing, the sales, like how do I get people in our program? You know, it's like, what if no one shows up? Like, so sad. So Bryony, like when you first started Sex Tech School, how did you price it? How did you get the first 10 sales?
Great. I'm so surprised. You're like, money, it's for Bryony.
Yeah.
So maybe because you know this already, Paz, but when I started Sex Tech School, the first cohort was $0. So it wasn't because I didn't value my expertise. And, you know, one of the reasons I started, first of all, COVID, so no speaking gigs, but the overwhelming, you know, inbox notes or emails to me were, how do I get started in this field? And so I sort of sensed, okay, there is value in doing this. But it wasn't that I didn't think that. It was more I wanted to figure out how to run this program and really validate what the journey was. What is the going from A to B, the transformation that people are going to go through before I started charging people money? Now, this worked for me because, and I didn't know this at the start, so I put the simplest way, Google form on LinkedIn, and I had 10 people sign up. I think I had actually more, and then interviewed everyone and went, okay, who's going to give me all the feedback and be on this journey with me? And their job is just to show up and tell me what sucked, what to keep, and like what else we could do with this. And so what happened was this group became so foundational in what is the Sex Tech School today because they all bought into that. And because there was no price there, it was all about trust and telling me, you know, this, you can experiment with this stuff, or this was just rubbish. And so everyone was deeply committed and very honest, and that changed the rhythm of the program. It was initially 4 weeks. It's been 6 weeks. It's been 8 weeks. It's been 12 weeks. I'm very heavy on experimentation. But once I saw that there was like a transformation and people could speak about it, not even a testimonial, but just tell me, what can we change? Okay, the second cohort, so that was cohort 0, I call it. Yeah. $0 for cohort 0. Cohort 1, then, so after the feedback, well, how much would you pay for this? Cohort 1 was not $1. Cohort 1 was, I think it was $500 US.
Nice.
And then very quickly built on that, I think up to maybe cohort 3, 4. Then I doubled the price. So then it was $1,000, and then the next time I doubled it again. So now it's almost $2,000 US, and I had validated this is the journey, this is the right touch points. Hey, we need a break after week 3. People are exhausted. They don't, you know, they're having that crisis of what the hell am I doing? I'm going to pivot 15 times in terms of the course I run, where they're trying to figure out their idea and their business. But that that was really important to also build my confidence as someone that was running a school and really going, oh yeah, I can give people value. And then so it wasn't about the structure after that $1,000 price point. It was more about, let's get those testimonials and let's really see where the value is. And then from there, there's now built on, coaching and other things. But that was my approach. And I'm so glad I did that, because I think sometimes people, when they pay for things, won't, they won't tell you the great stuff. Or I just had such a committed group. I mean, and they're very proud now too that they were cohort 0.
Cohort 0. I know the founding OGs,
Yeah.
8 in the community collective. Anyone who's from like cohort 1 is like royalty from that perspective. And we've had a similar approach where the price has increased each time and started at $880. Now it's $2,800. But there's a $3,000 package if you add coaching. There's like a lot of different add-ons from that perspective. And I think, how you attract people is also in the transformation and in the alumni, if you have them. I'll pop a link here as well to a whole blog I wrote about how to get people into a program of strategies that I've used. But, Ramon, all right, we've got the design. We know how to keep them engaged. We've got the price. We're getting people in. What happens afterwards? How do we keep people coming back? I think there's so many concerns and challenges around the alumni. I just want to kind of dive straight to the end of you run the program and you've run the first one. Now what? Do we build an alumni community? Do we invite them back? Does the program never end? How do we think about that kind of retention and engagement post-program?
Yeah, so I think that's an important question, right, that you have to ask at the beginning, right? Saying, okay, what do we want? What do we want them to do? In some cases, it's just enough to run it once and let them kind of dissipate afterwards. But in most cases, what you'll find is that you've created such great energy. And as Bronnie mentioned, you people are, they come for what they believe is going to be whatever that benefit is, but they really come back and stay connected because of the people. And so what you then have to ask yourself is, well, how do I want to do that? And what's the most efficient way so that we're not part of that process ideally, right? So how do you get almost out of your own way? And ideally what I find is if there's a strong vision and purpose up front, that becomes something that becomes like a connecting and a guiding light. But then you also want to make sure that you've done the work before the cohort's finished to create that sense of belonging, that Josh was talking about, and that sense that this is my tribe. And if it's my tribe, they're going to have all kinds of artifacts and rituals and things that really help them come back to that experience. And I find that the cohorts that stay most connected, it's because it's really participant-centered and cohort-led, right? So how do we make sure that all those initiatives are happening from the participants, right? You create the conditions for them to stay connected, but ideally they're the ones that are doing a lot of the work to stay connected. And then, you just want to find ways to reflect kind of the transformation that they've had as well. I think that's been really helpful. If you can reflect kind of how they've changed and reflect back, not just to them, but other people around them can also help reflect that kind of transformation. That's the kind of thing that really keeps people engaged, I think, over time. And then it helps them to recall kind of what are those peak moments as well. How do you make sure that you give them an opportunity to say, wow, what were some of those moments that I really loved about the experience? Because again, ultimately you're designing for emotion. And sometimes, this idea of peak moments, we assume that we want to design for positive and happy moments. But actually some of the best moments can be the most challenging. And you can design for that, right? So not all experiences and not all the emotions have to be positive. It's not about negative emotions. It's about being comfortable with, that discomfort, being comfortable with those moments that are challenging, that forces people to step outside their comfort zone. Those are typically the moments that people remember most fondly, right? When you look back, you're like, wow, that was such a difficult experience, but man, I loved it because it really pushed me to my edge. But that's the thing that people hold on to, because that's the emotion that people recall a lot of times. So yeah, design for those, I think that helps people kind of come back to it. And the other thing is, how do you get them to obviously continue to increase complexity, right? So if they're going to come back, how do they come back and create a pathway from participant to practitioner to now contributor, right? Ideally, right? So how do you create those pathways? I think Community Collective does that beautifully, right? Where you allow folks to come back and help others. And at the same time, it reinforces their own learning.
Yeah. I mean, can we just give a hallelujah emoji for like our speakers at the moment? I just feel smarter / dumber listening to all of you, which is such a cool paradox. And I mean, Ramon, you raised such a great point there, because you have to remind people of the transformation that they have gone through in your program if you're going from A to B. And to give like a hardcore examples to make this really practical for people, like at the Community Collective in our cohort program, obviously we're trying to help people build community. So we need to actually have a skills test to make sure that we can actually quantify that. So at the start of the program, each person will rate their confidence levels on 4 key skills, which is community strategy design, operations, public speaking, and how well connected they feel to other community builders, that community feeling. And the brown is before, where the average of the entire cohort is, and then the orange is after the program. And we've done this across all programs, and it helps us get better and better at trying to understand how do we design the program, but then all of the participants will get their results at the end. So they get their self-reflection at week 1, and then they get it at week 8. And we just ask the same 4 questions at the start and the end. Like if that's all you do and take away from this live call and you do that in your program, like you are ahead of probably 98% of people in the world. And I think that element of like inviting people to come back is huge, because if you can have ambassadors, alumni hosts, people who come back as mentors, editors, and like ask people how they want to co-design the community, like these are all alumni who now come back to the program. They come back on the program with a full scholarship for free in exchange for hosting 3 dinners in Lagos, Nigeria, or like their local city. They don't have to like go to Nigeria. So you're really thinking about that in practice. So Ramon, I love that element. We're coming near to our demo. So before we do the demo, I want to just do a like quick rapid fire round for Josh, Bryony, and Ramon. Can we just talk about like operations, systems, processes, staying organized? Like if you just kind of had like one best practice piece of advice of like how should we deal with the tech and making sure that our systems are really smooth. Josh, what has been a great example that's worked for you?
I love that I've got this question because I'm the most unorganized person. I'm not the ops person for LaunchVic. But what I can say is, and we've been on a bit of a journey with our different programs as well. We do use obviously we use Notion and we love Notion. But we've used one of the apps that we've used that I've really loved is a no-code app called Glide. And it's so simple. Even I can actually figure out how to use it and create an app from it. And we host our program schedule on there. We host our resources on there. We put all of like our mentors and the cohort and everything on Glide. And it's just a web app. It's really simple, but because we run so many different programs, it's really easy for us to spin up a new app really quickly and then shut it down straight after the program. So that's one that I would definitely give a shout out to and encourage people to get on and play around with.
Oh, we're just going to glide through it. I love that. And we're going to glide on over to Bryony. Top tip for systems, staying organized.
Josh, I think I can go head to head with you on being really disorganized. But I think what's important to know if you're starting a new cohort is the first one's going to be your hardest. So duplicate after that. And the thing that has stood the test of time for me is so simple. It's a calendaring system. I think you use it as well, Paz, as Luma. It's just great for across time zones and, keeping that, having a calendar page for your cohort and duplicating or cloning that. So if I was to recommend a tool is that, and just to give you some hope, if you're not the most organized person, it gets easier. Every single cohort, the work reduces because you've got these systems in place and you've experimented and figured it out.
I love that. I love that. And Ramon, what is your top tip?
Yeah, so I think I'm following everyone else as being fairly disorganized. But I think for me, the thing that I go back to a lot, like from a design perspective, I love being in person and facilitating and love Post-its, but sometimes you can't be in person or you need to digitize. So I love Miro or Mural as digital whiteboards, right? Because obviously you can put all your designs and your ideas on it. You can co-create and do it asynchronously. So I definitely obviously recommend those. But then once you get the experience and the journey designed, I'm a big fan of Session Lab. So Session Lab will help you really kind of put it all together, structure it, and understand, how do you time box everything. And then Session Lab has a really great repository of activities as well. So great activities that you can take a look and things that you can integrate into your experience.
I love Session Lab. I think I am a hardcore detail-oriented, probably over-organized person. So my hot take on this topic is like document everything. For example, I put a link to like my master event planning checklist. Every time we run an in-person event or an online event, like that's the checklist that we go through. I never want you to think, oh, what tasks did we run last time when we ran this program? What did we do in week 4 again? Where's that email? I just want you to think like, how can I make this process better? And, a good old, like, obviously we're about to get a demo on Notion, but I first started cohort 1. This is literally my cohort 1 spreadsheet of like documenting what happened in each week. So now I just have like this template that basically is like week 1, there's a portal, there's a workshop, there's a check-in, there's a cohort, like I need to confirm venue numbers. And I just started with this spreadsheet and then I worked backwards of what happens at onboarding, what happens at outcomes, interviews, there's recruitment, there's making a program live, there's planning. So I would just document everything as I go. And then this spreadsheet would kind of just build and build and build. So if you want me to make this into a template, post a yes in the chat and I'll spend some time with Alex putting this into Notion. It'll look way prettier than my spreadsheet. But Bri, Ramon, Josh, we are now going to get a bit of a taste from an operational, organized wizard, which is Alex, and actually just have a bit of a look at how we can use tools like Notion to really understand how we can build the ops in the back end of our programs. And so I'm going to throw over to Alex now, who's over in New Zealand, and he's just going to give us a bit of an overview of Notion and what we can actually do with this tool, because we're giving you all 6 months free on the Notion business plan, which includes like AI, building agents. And so we had so many questions submitted around like, how do we use a tool like Notion in the back-end systems of running our program? So please, let's give a fire emoji over to Alex for this fabulous demo. Alex, take it away.
Thank you so much, Paz. Hopefully you guys can hear me now.
Yeah, you sound phenomenal. Love what you've done.
I accidentally muted my mic before, so that's why you probably couldn't hear me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I've learned so much from all 4 of you around running cohort-based programs. And just in the background, I've been thinking, how the hell do I maybe translate this into Notion and actually build it myself? That checklist that you have sounds really freaking cool. And I'd love to be able to just like pop it in Notion and then get it to create the checklist for everyone here. And then we can just give everyone the template to duplicate.
Oh, so let's build that afterwards, Alex. We'll build it.
Let's totally do that.
Let's do it.
So everyone can see my screen properly.
Looks stunning.
So as an quick introduction, I'm Alex. I live in Auckland, New Zealand. I've been with Notion for almost a year now, and I run the startups program here in APAC. I used to be a venture capital person before that, making investments in startups. So Paz really went to me and was like, okay, part 1 of the cohort-based program was super awesome. Let's do a part 2. But also, could you tell me and show the audience what your top features are with Notion? So I decided to highlight some very simple features and my favorite. So with Notion itself, I'm literally in Notion right now, as you can see, and you can literally edit, you can do whatever in Notion. You can think of it as like Lego blocks, where you just kind of like take in or put on as many blocks as you so choose. My actual favorite feature in Notion is actually not that crazy. It's toggles. I freaking love toggles, where you can just hide information within a toggle. Oh, look, it's a picture of Paz and I in here, and then I can hide that back. The other thing that I really love about Notion is that there's pre-made templates. So you can click here, but there's also a template marketplace that you can go down here, and you can search up pre-made templates that people around the world have been making. This could be about cohort-based programs. So you can even download something that's already pre-made or make it yourself. The other cool thing is Notion has connectors to all of your other favorite tools. So I've connected it to my Gmail, my Google Drive, and our Slack. So for example, you're having a conversation in Slack. Maybe I'm having a conversation with Josh in Slack, and I don't really want to go to Slack to search up where I had that conversation or what I spoke about. I can actually connect it here with Notion, and I can ask in this chat, what the hell did I speak about with Josh on this one day? And it'll be able to give me this answer from within Notion. So I don't have to necessarily context switch from software to software. The other cool thing is you can use all of the latest AI models, including Gemini 3, directly from Notion. So I use that quite a bit. And now let's go into some use cases. I thought I'd show you a comedic use case, because people have been like asking, okay, how do I use Notion AI? I've used Notion before. I've used it as like a note taker, as a place to track my documents. Maybe I've used like the new Notion calendar or the new Notion mail, but I've never really used Notion AI. So my favorite use case is right now is because we're part of the community collective, orange is Paz's favorite color. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a prompt that says, create me. And I'm using Notion agent right here, which is this little guy right here. You can actually personalize yours. I've personalized mine to have a duck on his head, and I've called mine the bro, because in New Zealand everyone called each other bro. So I just called mine the bro. And now if I make a prompt, hopefully in the background it'll create a snowman. So whilst that's being created, let's go back here. Ooh, you can see it being created. I'll show you guys later. Another thing is cohort-based programs. Like this is just an empty page, but I've got a prompt here where Notion agent will take all of the building blocks that it has access to, and it will literally build you a use case that you ask it to. This could be as simple as build me a way to track my tasks, build me a way to track my meetings. But in this case, because our topic is cohort-based systems and programs, we're going to use this prompt. But before that, let's just quickly go back and see if it created the snowman. Ta-da! It created the snowman with emojis and characters. That's very cool. Anyway, that's just a very comedic way of using Notion AI to create some sort of use case in Notion. I tend to use a lot of prompting now in Notion, whereas before, I used it before AI was even involved. And it was, sometimes you get stuck in the minutia of just editing simple stuff and the admin of doing that, whereas that's not necessarily the most important thing that you should be focused on. What you should be focused on is running your business and then doing sales or more strategic thinking, whereas some of this admin stuff you don't want. So let me copy this and let's see. I created a prompt that just says, create a way to manage a cohort-based program and manage participants, including calendar views, kind of what Bree had around the calendar, or maybe it was Paz that had everything in one Google Sheet with all of the calendar items, like everything. So what what Notion agent is going to do is start building the system for you. And so as you can see, it's thinking, it's creating the programs database right now as we speak. And let's see what it does. Sometimes it gets it wrong, and so it re goes back, and then it starts thinking again and creates everything from scratch. It might take a lot longer because I've included some sample data as well. I've asked it to include sample data so that we can actually see what it's talking about. So let's see if it actually goes.
And Alex, just a quick question. Like you said that there's AI like ChatGPT and Claude. Like, are they the paid Claude plan included in the Notion business plan? Like if I was using Notion business, can I then use ChatGPT paid?
Correct. Yeah.
It's just included, so I can just chat to Claude in Notion.
Yes. Yeah. So you can use Gemini 3 Pro, as you saw down here. I can't use it right now because it's actually building the cohort-based program as we speak. But you can use ChatGPT, the latest GPT 5.1 model, which is accessible to the Pro plan, and then also Claude as well. So the latest Claude Sonnet models and whatnot. And that's all within the Notion business plan, which you guys get for free anyway for 6 months. All right, let's see what it's doing. Now you can see it's populating it with example data of the program itself, maybe the cohorts, the participants, events, giving you different views like calendar views. Maybe you want, I don't know why you would want a map view. Maybe you have locations of, physical events that you're hosting and dinners that Paz's community are hosting, and you want to know exactly where you're hosting that dinner. So you can do that as well. And that was done with a single prompt. Obviously, you need to redo this to suit your program's needs, and it's not going to be perfect from one single prompt. So you just keep on prompting and keep on adapting until it does suit your needs. Right now, it may look super ugly, and maybe you don't like this view. You can also ask Notion Agent to refigure the shape and the layout of your Notion page as well. The cool thing is you can then share this page out with your audience. You can make the page public. You can share it with your team. So yeah, that's a really simple, I guess, use case. Oh, one thing that Paz mentioned actually is forms. So obviously all of you guys need forms and application forms when people apply to the cohort themselves, and don't really want to, well, you do have time to, I guess, customize the forms and the properties within the forms and the questions that you ask within that form. Let's see if it can create us something here. All right, so it already finished the cohort program management system at the back here. And let's just have a look at what that actually looked like. Awesome. So populated with different examples. It even gave us examples of, the content and then what cohort that came from as well. So you can track between different cohorts. That's super cool. I've learned a lot. Let's go back to forms. So maybe you want to create a form to build applications for a cohort-based program. Same workflow, but maybe you just want to open up a new chat. Paz, you spoke about the models. Here you can see the models that are on offer right now that you can use straight away with this Notion business plan. This little guy here is Notion AI, which is essentially just a prioritization type of model where, dependent on the prompt, it'll decide which model to use out of the one. So this is my little final demo where we'll just show, all right, let's create a form in Notion, and then you're able to share that form from Notion and collect the responses also in Notion. So
and
everything's
Alex,
in place.
We have a quick question here.
Yes.
Of like, where did the data for the cohort get pulled from? Do you have a source that the Notion AI pulled all that data from, or is that all just placeholder data in the program structure?
Yeah, that's all sample data, placeholder data.
Sample data. Okay.
Yeah. So when you actually take in applications and actually collect real world data from people, it will pull from that data. But I just asked it to pull from example data. Notion also has access to the internet, so it can pull data from the internet as well.
Very cool.
So what did it say here? It said it created a full-on form to track applications. We can go in and have a look. Here's the form responses section, which is just a simple spreadsheet and a database. And then here's the actual form that it just made instantly that shows all of the types of properties. Obviously, you can edit this for whatever your cohort is. And then you can also share this form out. You can make it public. For example, anyone on the web can click it, and then you can ask for anonymous responses and then set automations, which is the cool thing. So whenever someone fills in a form, the form does this, or something happens after someone clicks submit. So yeah, that's an example of how to use Notion AI specifically for building your cohort-based program. Over to you,
Hey, I love that. Everyone give a fire emoji for Alex or a brain for blowing our mind. I mean, where was that 3 years ago when I was sitting here with my spreadsheets? fully like building all of that out, because it's so much easier to start with a draft than it is to start with a blank page. And so I love that you can kind of build all of that out. I know in part one we had Sean Greeley, and he walked through basically how he set up Notion in his sales accelerator. We'll put the link to that video. It's on our YouTube channel of Sean Greeley's demo of Notion, of how he used it, because he had forms. People would apply, they'd book into his calendar, it would go into the back end, he would track where everyone was at in terms of like call, sale, like welcome, booking done, and would like track that system. And then when they joined, they would get access to Notion, which was the portal. So it had all the recording links, the member directories. Like, I think a really great thing, if you're building a cohort-based program for the first time, how can you spend $0? Just spend $0 on your first program. Don't focus on the shiny tools and the money you can spend and the venues. Like, just focus on the people and your like bare minimum. And using something like Notion and Slack has been like a really common one, I think, where people start, because like we can all communicate in here, and then when Slack disappears and nothing is saved, I put it all in Notion as like, the two. I'm getting big nods from everyone. So Alex, thank you so much for the demo. Legend. I love the orange snowman. Obviously, I'm going to build that every day now. But we now get to open up to audience Q&A. So we basically get to bring back our fabulous panelists. Were they asleep? Let's check. Bring them back up. Here we go. Oh, there she is. Woo! Okay, cool. So gang, we get to move into audience Q&A. You've just seen some things on Notion. We've been blowing your mind talking about learning design and alumni. Now we want to make this super relevant for you. So how this is going to work, everyone, we're going to take 60 seconds right now. And everyone on the live call, you're just going to think of one question that you are going to ask our fabulous panelists. And basically you can ask a question to either Bryony, Ramon, or Josh, and really understanding exactly what you would like to hear more about. So if you would like to learn more about the pricing or the alumni or the sales, we can dive into those different areas. And if you want to win a book gift, you can jump up into the live queue section in Butter. Just jump into the queue and click I have a comment, or you can post your question inside the Butter chat and I will ask that on your behalf. So we're all just going to take 60 seconds now. I'd like all of you just to think of one question, post it in the chat, and then we'll come through and rapid fire through all of our questions. All right, we've got heaps of questions coming in, so let's jump straight in. Haley, Jess, Jackie, if any of you want to ask your question live, you can jump into the Butter queue if anyone wants to jump up on the main stage. Otherwise, we're going to jump straight into Haley's question. So, Bryony, I'm going to ask you this question first, which is, what is the biggest challenge you've faced when building your cohorts, and how have you overcome them?
There's so many challenges. The biggest challenge, well, if you're running a global community, I think that has been extremely challenging for me in terms of global cohort, I should say, is I was trying to run a US session and a UK session while based in Australia. I took a while to learn this lesson, which was make sure you employ other people and don't just try to do the whole thing yourself. Or don't do 2 sessions a week in different time zones and burn out. So learning by doing, learning by failing was what I did. And the solve was, okay, 1 year I employed someone who was in a different time zone to me to manage that. And then the next year, which is this year, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do 50% of the cohorts that I used to do. I'm not going to run 8, I'm going to run 4. And kind of a specific question, I guess, because it's like time zone challenges. Specific answer.
Yeah, time zone challenges are so hard. Like, we have people across like 18 countries and we always get feedback being like, but scheduling is never going to serve anyone and everyone. So stop trying to please everyone as well. Obviously, if you're serving parents, like, you're not going to do 8 a.m. school pickup time. Like, you need to know your audience, but you also just need to make a decision. And I like having options. So we run a 10 a.m. Wednesday, 4 p.m. Thursday. Every single one of them are different. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, that's cool. I'm not going to ask where you are, but there's a recording if you want to learn async. I think that's a great element there. And we've got a cool question here from Jess, and Jess is in the queue. So Jess, I'm going to get you up on stage live. You get a book gift. But Jess, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure.
And then also, Jess, it's you. It's nice to see you. And then Jess, you get to pick which panelist answers your question. So please ask someone's name as well. Over to you, Jess.
Sure. I'd like to know more about what the biggest mistake or regret you've had in a previous cohort that you do differently now that you've learned from multiple cohorts. And I'd love it if Ramon answered it.
Love that.
Thanks, Jess. I love this question. I think the biggest mistake that I've faced is probably over-engineering and making it too much of me in the middle of everything, right? And so if I look back, the times that we've been really successful is when we've gotten out of the way, and how do you, because it's hard to let go of control. I think fundamentally that's, you feel like you're responsible for their experience. And so you feel like you want to control all these elements, but actually when you let go of control, you actually allow them to step up and step into their own agency and their own experience. And that's when, it's just real magic when that happens. Yeah.
Do you have an example, Ramon? Like, what do we do? Do we just say, all of you go have dinner and self-organize?
Yeah, no, I think it could be as simple as really helping them, giving them the tools, right? So, but then being okay with letting them go where they go, we would create these, one of the things that we love doing is creating guidance groups. And so one of the things that we do is just say, okay, in your guidance groups, you organize how you want to stay in touch, what you want to do versus us trying to be, on top of them and making sure that they met. For us, it's like, okay, let them kind of drive their own experience, right? We just want to create the right conditions, but we also want to get out of the way so that they can kind of do their own thing. Yeah.
I love that. An example that we had is we always had a surprise session. We would like put in a scheduled session. We'd just leave it as nothing, like it wasn't a speaker, it wasn't a workshop. And then we'd ask the cohort, like, what do you want this to be? We did that, I think, for the first 3 cohorts, and we like voted for speakers. I'd then like go invite them and we'd like bring them in. Everyone was there and like, whoa, like it happened, like, and it was like giving them agency to have decision-making power, which is really cool. Josh, do you want to add anything on mistakes, regrets before we move on? I know you've got lots, right?
No, yeah. Hey, what are you saying?
I'm kidding.
No. A really big one that we've learned a lot, and we have made this mistake a few times over the years, but every time we've kind of made the mistake, it's kind of validated that we really need to like take this seriously. And that really is, and I think it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, like getting the cohort mix right. And sometimes, but for our programs, we've got pretty strict eligibility criteria for what we're looking for, whether it's early stage, later stage, mid stage, or whatever. And there's been a couple of times where we have compromised on that eligibility to fill the cohort and hit our quota kind of thing in terms of, having a cohort of 10 or 20 or whatever. And then those compromises have either had to pull out of the program or they've been problem children that we've had to kind of like deal with through the program. And so, it's definitely something that we've made a couple of times, but we've learned a lot from it.
Love that. Jess, you happy with those answers? Because we're going to come over to a new question from Mark. I think I know which Mark it is, but Mark, if you're happy to share your one question. Hey, it is Mark Means. Love that. Mark, please share your one sentence question and then name who you would like to answer.
I would like to direct this to Josh. Josh, what is the best strategy you have for keeping an alumni sort of engaged financially past the first cohort?
Oh, engaged financially.
I see.
I'm not sure if I actually can answer that because our programs are free, and so are all of our alumni activities. In fact, our Civic Labs program, we actually give startups money to come through the program.
Wow.
So give would be my suggestion.
Can I redirect that to Briani then, please?
Briani, yeah. Over to you,
Briani,
Brian.
sorry.
Okay, so I've tried a couple of things. The first one is nominate your price to have access to the video library. So aside from running the live cohorts, we record them all. They get put in a video library. We're up to cohort 19 now. So that's 18 worth, video sessions of different speakers. Sometimes, globally there were 2 sessions, so however many. So nominate your price for how you want to stay in, you want to stay access with that and access to the community. The other way, people have paid to redo the cohort. So we give them a 50% off and they come through and they do the cohort again. So they're like, I'm ready again. This time I've got a different idea, or I wasn't as ready. And then I've got a third one this is sort of the bolt on, but I don't think this engages them as a community. This engages people financially is, really enjoyed the program. I get who you are. I see what you're up to as well. Can I do coaching just with you? And so now there's a 3-month container where I take on 8 founders and they come, it's like they're level 2. So that's a couple of options of how I've kept them on. I would say the one that's lasted the most is that sort of ongoing monthly access, and it might even be $5. Yep. I'm a fan of these, like a couple of dollars here and there, but it keeps them engaged. It also keeps them valuing the materials.
Do you mind me asking, do you offer that at the beginning, the end, or the middle, or is there a good time that you've found?
I have only offered it at the end.
Okay.
I know Paz would have experimented perhaps with this more, but that speaks to my disorganization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can jump in on this. 98% of our alumni have stayed with us and never graduated from our community, and 54% of our alumni have redone a program 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 times. And so retention, the biggest lesson that I've learned is towards the end of the program, so ours is 8 weeks, in week 6, we start going, hey, we've got 2 weeks left. And it's basically a countdown. And then we start in the first cohort, everyone was like, oh my God, I don't want to leave. Like, what? So we booked in 3 co-creation workshops in week 7, week 8, and when it ended, and I'd have 70 minutes, I'd have all of our program participants join. And I was like, what do you want after this program? What support do you need? What does that look like? And what do you want access to ongoing? We co-designed a new offer. We called it residency. We voted. We stood up the time frame. And then now alumni have an alumni pass. And we also sold lifetime offers. So we position our program not as a program. It's more, it's like a conference. It's like reading a book a second time. Add a thumbs up if you've ever gone to a conference twice. So you've gone to South by Southwest Sydney, you've come back year on year. It's the same conference, but there's new speakers, new people, new inspiration, this time-bound experience. And so we don't offer a membership model. It's a programship model. You have this annual pass. You get access to all the new speakers and all the people and coaching twice a year. And we show up as a community 4 months of the year. And then 8 months of the year, go build the thing, go do the thing, live your life. That's cool. So never let them disengage is how you keep them engaged, I would say. So
Thank
Mark,
you.
I hope that helps. We've got a couple minutes left and we've got 2 questions. So we'll power through this. We've got Jackie for our second last question. Where is Jackie? Hey, Jackie, who would you like to direct your question to?
Well, I think Mark stole a lot of my questions, so I've got a lot of benefit from what everyone has shared already, but I wonder if anyone can speak to the sales psychology of how long a cohort should last. I know you've all done very many different iterations of your cohort, but I think for me personally with public speaking, I have an idea of what would be the best runway, but then I also have people saying, oh, I've said yes to something next month, and so they're in such a hurry. I can see Bryony's like nodding her head like crazy. So I'm just wondering, with all of the sort of trial and error that you guys have done with so many cohorts, I understand it's very individualized to what it is that you're offering, but is there a 12-week kind of beautiful halfway point that you go, great, this is what we're going to nail, but then I've got something else afterwards to continue on your learning, because I know that there needs to be more. You just don't know that yet.
So Jackie, you're asking on what's the perfect length of a program? Is that the question?
Only because my question that I asked in the chat, I think I got a lot of value from Mark's and everyone else's answers to Mark's question.
Who do you want to answer, Jackie? You just get to pick someone. Anyone you want. You get to pick a name, Jackie.
I was going to go with Bryony because she was just nodding her head quite a bit.
Bryony, chosen one.
I've experimented a lot with this, and yes, it's constantly a sales. What do you call it? Friction.
Cycle. Friction.
I've forgotten the term. You know, the thing you come up against in sales. Anyway, people have lives. They have plans. It might be, you know, for Europe, they're away in August, or they've got holidays or school, So I have done 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. 12 weeks, way too long. People drop off. 6 weeks for me, or for the things that I'm teaching, is right in the sweet spot. I front load like Paz. So first 3 weeks is intense, break week, and then another 3 weeks. So it's really 7 weeks. But then it's sort of the spot where people already want more. They're like, what do you mean it's already over? But in their mind, the commitment feels significant, but it doesn't feel like, you know, it's interrupting. And there's always people that will have other things on, but I feel like that's a good window where it doesn't overlap into like overseas trips or things that people long-term plan. They can go, okay, I can see that window.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
Love that. Jackie, I would go and like survey who you're serving as well and ask them and get them to vote, like give them 3 options. It can be 10 days, 10 weeks, 5 weeks, get them to vote as long as you're happy with all 3 options, and then just go with the majority. Because I think that as well, that's what I've learned, is just constantly asking, because you're not managers, you're not community managers, like you should be community architects, where you are architecting the container for them to get the transformation. So just constantly, I think always when you're like unsure of something, go do some more research as well, which helps.
Amazing. Thank you.
Very fun. Gang, we're going to have to wrap audience Q&A here. We have like at least 160 other questions that are unanswered. So we are going to end with our final question for our panelists. But before that, we have a question for our audience of, you know, there's so much that we could jam pack into these sessions. Do you want us to run a part 3 of how to build cohort-based programs? Like, should we do more demos? Post a yes in the chat if you think this conversation and would like us and the Community Collective, maybe Notion, want to come back and we'll do it again. Maybe we need a longer demo from Alex. Maybe Bryony, Josh, and Ramon will volunteer and vote for a speaker that they think should nominate the next time round. So if anyone thinks we should have this conversation again in 2026, because this year is kind of a write-off now, post a yes in the chat. I'll go speak to Alex, give him a phone call. Maybe we'll do a part 3. And definitely there is a recording at the end of the session, because I know you're all going to listen to it again like I will. So our final question, Bryony, Ramon, Josh, if you had your time again and you had one sentence piece of advice about building the best program that you could ever build, what would you say? What would you say? I'm going to go, Ramon, you first. Your best piece of advice. So
my best piece of advice would be to create space. Yeah, I think creating space, like how little is enough. We tend to want to pack in a lot of content and a lot of activities and experience, but actually space for folks to reflect, space for folks to connect, space to create meaning, really just creates so much value for them, right? And if you just give them space, they'll really appreciate that.
Space. Oh, I love it. Top that, Josh. What's going to be?
I love that one. I wanted to use that, but mine, I think, don't over engineer it. I think in programs that I've run, the early days, I really tried to just like make everything perfect from the start, and then quickly realized that you really want to have, especially when you're building like community and, you know, cohesive cohort vibes, you want that flexibility to like change things and move things around and adapt as you go. And like, so don't be afraid to like do that.
Love that. Oh, don't over engineer. Bryony, take us home.
Yes, this, you know, it's all the same thread, but different ways to look at it is simplicity. And I'm going to talk about your tech stack because, whoa, have I gone and tried a million different things, and it's confusing for people. It was confusing for me. It was confusing for people using Slack over here, Loomer over here, Teachable over here, this over there, you know, too much stuff, Google Docs. So I challenge you to reduce your tech stack by one tool and see, you know, no one wants to be on multiple tools. And I know we somehow often have to cobble things together, but simplicity, space, not over engineering, simplicity, these are all sort of the same values and principles. And I think it comes from, when you're starting to build a course, it comes from this need to overcompensate. I must deliver value. Oh my God, people must have a transformation. I must over deliver so they, you know, have this incredible experience. And so I think we tend to go, oh, that means just add more stuff, add more tech tools, add more content.
Yeah.
And in fact, take it out. And that's, I think, when you'll see the most success and the least stress.
Oh, I love it. We've got space, don't over engineer, and simplicity. The cherry on top. Please, everyone, stop what you're doing. Just listen to this one line. Never build programs for people. Never build programs for people. You have to build it with them. You have to build it with them. Go and co-create. We have 47 member leadership roles at the Community Collective of mentors, editors, coaches, speakers, and hosts. And that is the beauty of running a cohort, where it is co-designed and co-created. So everyone, huge round of applause, massive fire emojis for our fabulous panelists, Bryony, Ramon, Josh. I'm going to listen to this again when I am moving into my new house on Saturday, which I'm very excited for because we bought a new house, which is very exciting. But this is way more exciting because I get to say thank you to everyone here for joining live today. So please, huge props for Alex at Notion, Enos, our community lead, being phenomenal in the chat with all the links. And of course, thank you to all of you for being here. Now we get to wrap up this session. We've got 2 questions and I've got that gift for you, of course, that I promised. But first, we like to reflect on what did we learn today. We're taking some space. I'm going to open the floor to you. Please, we're going to take 60 seconds. Everyone post in the chat, what is one thing that you learned today that has become more clear as a result of speaking and listening to our fabulous panelists? One learning in the chat. Here we go. Here we go. I'm ready to learn again. 30 seconds.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough.
Trust, connection, recruit. I love that Ramon learned something. Wow, the Godfather. I love it. Don't over engineer. Connection is key. Fantastic, everyone. Please, if you want to post about what you learned, share your key takeaway on LinkedIn, tag Notion, tag the Community Collective. We'll be giving away free audiobooks for anyone that posts on LinkedIn about something they learned today. Screenshot this. Go wild. I don't mind. And of course, thank you to Notion. We are sending you all our Notion gift of 6 months free on the Notion business plan with the AI. If you need help, just email us. I'm sure Alex and I will go build some templates on Notion after this. We've got a lot of work to do, Alex. And if you want to keep learning with the Community Collective, we have 3 final gatherings of just 2025, not forever. Don't worry. And we're going to be in Perth, Melbourne, Adelaide. We've got a party tonight. That's why I'm wearing this orange leather jacket. It's going to be cowboy themed in Melbourne. So feel free to join any of those other gatherings if you want to keep learning. And of course, if you're building community, you're building a program and you need some help, like I did back in 2022 when I had no idea what I was doing, we are offering our cohort program. And you might be someone like Sean Greeley. He's an absolute legend. I met him about a year ago. He said, Paz, I run a consulting business. I offer coaching one-on-one. I want to build a cohort model and do one-to-many. So he joined our cohort number 4. He met a lot of different people. He built his community strategy. He designed his program. He flew all over Australia. He met different people. He got to ask Seth Godin a question in cohort 5. He came back 3 times. And literally last couple months, we went to his huge community and program launch of his Sales Accelerator, where he basically has trained so many different companies now on how to build sales. The next cohort's in February. Definitely go join Sales Accelerator if you need it. But Sean was someone who needed some clarity on how do you build community? How do you design a program? And so if you need help, you can get access to our community strategy template. You can book a call with myself or Enos. We've got $700 off our program before the 5th of December. So if you want to join in cohort 8, come hang out with me for the rest of next year. I would absolutely love to see you there. So everyone, thank you so much for joining today. It has been an absolute orange wonderland treat. So grateful for Notion, who are just helping us curate these awesome experiences, bring everyone in, share some cool tech stacks and learning. So everyone, I'm going to go have a dance party. Please, I look forward to hearing your takeaways on LinkedIn, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone. See ya. Feel free to unmute and say goodbye like a good human. Unmute, say goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.